There are some people in this world who were just born with luck on their side. Of course, that's not normal. Most of us can't seem to catch a break no matter how hard we try. Sometimes, though, you can get lucky when you least expect it. If you feel like you're lacking some adrenaline in your life, stick around until the end, because here's a couple of incredibly lucky people. Let's get it on. Snowboarding is hard. Really, there are more ways to mess up a stunt than there are to land it. So what do you do if you're on camera and you don't quite make a jump? Well, if you're this guy, you might just be lucky enough to make up for it on the landing. Even he knew that was more luck than skill, but he still must have been pretty happy with himself, especially since he could have left with many more bruises than the one he must have on his shin. The ability to style things out really expertly is something I think we all need to learn, just in case something like this ever happens. Basically, you need to get your face to stay calm even if you're not. This guy could have been the talk of the town if he'd just been a bit more deadpan, because everyone would have believed he did that on purpose. But he reacted like a human, and now everyone knows it was a fluke. Oh well, at least he seems fun. Brace yourself. You're about to witness a whole new level of luck. It's so impossible it almost needs a new word to accurately describe it. These two martial artists got a little confused and accidentally started doing their fancy tricks at the same time. They didn't realize they were coming toward each other until it was too late. They were both already in the air, but instead of colliding, this happened. It's a stunt too dangerous for the movies. It could only ever happen by mistake. Anyone who's ever set their skates down on some actual ice will tell you it's not a human's natural environment. That stuff is slippery and dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But this guy has none of those usual excuses for getting himself into trouble on the ice. He can clearly skate. It's the showing off he has a problem with. But someone was looking out for him, and the biggest mistake he made was looking panicked. Because if he hadn't, people would have thought it was a cool trick. I can't be the only person who's ever looked at those long pole vaults and the athlete plummeting uncontrollably through the air and thought this could go very, very badly. Turns out that's not just paranoia, but I've never been more glad to be watching someone that the universe is determined to keep alive. This is as close as you can get to an infamously horrific accident without actually subjecting international TV audiences to a real-life accidental Final Destination type disaster. It's so close it looks like he thought it was game over for a moment. Ever had the feeling that things are going so wrong that the ground might as well fall out from underneath your feet? This skier had the opposite experience of the same idea. Things were going so right for them that the ground could fall out from underneath their skis, and they'd be just fine. How? Who knows, but I bet none of us would have it go that way. Have you ever noticed that bad luck seems to be built into cell phones? You know what I mean. If there's an opportunity for them to fall on the floor and smash their screen, they will. That just makes it more exciting when something really fortunate happens to a phone. This whole scene could have gone really badly for that phone. Picture the smashed screen, the bike driving over it, and it being lost forever. But instead, this happened. And it's the most amazing thing ever. Most people would agree a shark attack is about the most unlucky thing that could ever happen to anyone. Mick Fanning is so lucky though that he's even lucky in the middle of being nearly eaten by a shark on live TV. He was just waiting during the J-Bay Open, one of the biggest surfing competitions in the world, when an actual shark pulled him under the water. The lucky bit? It only grabbed the rope connecting his ankle and surfboard. It didn't even touch him, so he punched it and got away. Talk about a close one. I understand people wanting to get close to their heroes, but I always thought sitting too close to the front row of a baseball game seemed like you're putting yourself in the danger zone. It turns out I was right. Foul balls can come straight for your delicate face the moment you're not looking. Luckily, this man invested well in his future several years ago by having a son with a keen eye and ability to catch. It's nice to see a son save his father for a change instead of the other way around. People are amazing because they're always getting themselves into dangerous situations to help others. Even highway patrol isn't safe in more ways than one. You might imagine that stopping a driver could make them angry, and you need to look out for that. But I doubt this officer was expecting to be standing in the pathway of an out-of-control car. Thankfully, he looked up at the right moment, so he had just enough time to get out of the way. Imagine being dumb enough that you think it's a good idea to jump into water that's visibly filled with sharks just so you can surf a dead whale carcass. It's not a hypothetical scenario. This guy actually did it.
My question is, what the hell?
I would ask why, but I know there's no reason good enough. Now imagine just how lucky that guy has to be because he got out of that situation without a scratch on him. Not even a close encounter. Sometimes luck steps in because there's no other option.
Mom thinks I'm an idiot. Dad's not too proud either.
Your mum's
sounds right, Harrison. You are an idiot.
When is falling off your bike not falling off your bike? Yeah, it sounds like one of those weird philosophical questions, but it's far more literal than that. Nicholas Ajo was in the middle of a Moto3 race when he lost control, and that's not unusual. We've all seen how that goes. Only he didn't crash, which is what should have happened. He didn't quite fall off, actually. Instead, he rode his bike over to the finish line with both his knees on the ground next to it. Does that count? I guess it does. If there was ever a time for things to go your way, it's when you're standing in front of someone famous. You hear a lot of people telling stories about how they completely embarrass themselves in front of a celebrity, so nobody expects to do something amazing while being watched by a pro sportsman. But this reporter pulled off the impossible with a backward shot from halfway across the court in front of a Harlem Globetrotter. He must be so glad he did that while the camera was rolling, because nobody would have believed him.
Sean Gallagher trying out for the Globetrotters. Hey, what do you say about that?
You must have heard the phrase, never work with animals or children. It comes from show business, and it basically means that the people who make movies are terrified of any creature that's a little unpredictable. And animals sure are unpredictable. That's the only explanation for how something like this can happen. Still, even if a bird's flying unnaturally close to you, it's still not likely you're going to be able to catch it. There's just no explanation for this moment at all. While most people are finding it impossible not to drop their toast on the floor, there are some people out there who have reflexes that make you suspicious about their human form. You know those people, the ones who can catch things that they never even saw falling in the first place? This guy is a prime example of that kind of person. What's he doing just going about his daily life when he could be an actual superhero? We need people like him. Any sport that happens at high speed leaves little room for error and a lot of room for crashing horribly. So what do you do if the person right in front of you crashes? That's gotta mean a second crash, right? There's nowhere to go. Well, you can always go up, as motivational speakers would say. Turns out they're right. Luck worked in this driver's favor, and he was able to use the crashed bike as a ramp, take to the skies, and land gently on the stone to return to the race. Amazing. If you've driven a car before, you know most people are really terrible at it, so it can't be as easy as it looks. But I'll let you in on a secret. Controlling a vehicle on water is much harder. This boat was approaching this platform really fast. Stopping in time isn't really an option here, so instead, they turned and hoped for the best. Amazingly, the best actually happened, and they floated gently up to the side. Yeah, sure you meant to do that. Adults like to say they're over kids' games. We like people to think we're more mature. Instead of a roundabout or a swing, we look for games that are more high stakes, like poker or doing potentially more dangerous stunts on a motorcycle. But nobody ever thought of keeping the kids' games and adding adrenaline into them, like, say, a slide, but one where you nearly have to die to get onto it. This guy might not be very good at stunt driving, but he's an accidental innovator.